Imagine a scientist tells you to press a button. The button hurts another person. You hear them scream. You hear them beg. You hear them demand to leave. Then the scientist says for simple words, "Please continue the experiment." What would you do? Most people believe they would stop. Most people are wrong. In 1961, a young psychologist named Stanley Milgram wanted to answer a disturbing question: how could ordinary people participate in terrible acts during World War II? Were those people uniquely cruel, or could almost anyone do the same thing under the right conditions? To find out, Milgram designed one of the most famous experiments in psychology. Volunteers arrived at Yale University believing they were helping with a study about memory and learning. Each participant met another man, but what they didn't know was that the other man was actually an actor. The participant was assigned the role of teacher while the actor became the learner. The learner was taken into another room, where electrodes were attached to his arm. Meanwhile, the teacher sat in front of a machine covered with switches, each representing a stronger electric shock: 15 volts, 30 volts, 45 volts, all the way up to 450 volts. The teacher's task seemed simple: ask a question, and if the learner answered incorrectly, press the next shock button. The shocks weren't real, but the participants didn't know that. At first, everything seemed normal. Then the learner started making mistakes. As the shocks increased, he began to complain. Soon he shouted. Then he screamed. Then he begged to stop. He pounded on the wall. And eventually, he went silent. Most people assume the experiment ended there. It didn't. Whenever participants hesitated, the scientist calmly urged them forward with phrases like, "Please continue, the experiment requires that you continue, and you have no other choice." Many participants felt deeply uncomfortable. Some laughed nervously. Some sweated. Some trembled. Yet they continued. Milgram expected that only a tiny number of people would reach the highest voltage, and even experts predicted very low obedience rates. The actual result shocked the world. About 65% of participants continued all the way to 450 volts, not because they enjoyed it, and not because they were evil, but because an authority figure told them to continue. The experiment changed psychology forever by revealing something deeply uncomfortable about human nature: authority can be more powerful than personal morals. And that lesson didn't disappear when the experiment ended. You can see it in workplaces, schools, governments, corporations, and social media. People often follow instructions simply because someone with status tells them to. A uniform, a title, a badge, a lab coat, or even a blue verification mark, the symbols change, but the psychology remains surprisingly similar. Of course, the Milgram experiment remains controversial. Many people believe it placed too much stress on participants, and modern ethics rules would never allow it to be conducted in the same way today. Yet its message remains unforgettable. The most frightening part wasn't that some people obeyed. It was how many did. Because the experiment wasn't really testing them, it was testing all of us. And it asked a question that still matters today: if authority told you to do something wrong, would you stop, or would you continue? Most people believe they would say no. The participants believed that too. Until authority entered the room. One sentence changed their decision. Please continue the experiment. The experiment ended decades ago. Its lesson never did. Every generation faces its own version of the red button. The real question isn't what they did. It's what you would do.